Hello and welcome back to the Yahoo Finance All Market Summit Extra Asia. And I'm your host, Richard Lai. For this panel, we'll be talking about going from the traditional finance system to virtual economy. Joining me are Mr. John Zhang, who's the founder of Esperanza, Ms. Stephanie Leung, who's the director and group co-CIO of StashAway, and Mr. Fred Ngang, co-founder and co-CEO of Bowtie. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. And to kick off our panel, I'd like to ask each of you to give me this answer within 10 seconds. What does paradigm shift mean to you? Maybe we can start with Stephanie.
Sure, 10 seconds, short time. But I've been recently rewatching Doctor Strange 1. And to me, paradigm shift is when Doctor Strange actually met the Ancient One. And Ancient One actually opened him up to the idea of a metaverse, or a multiverse. So that to me is a paradigm shift.
I do wonder who is your Ancient One there. Fred, how about you?
Sure, I like the movie too. Digital adoptions for all financial service, especially insurance.
Oh, very good pitch. And last but not least,
to me, it's very simple. It's disruption. It's basically disruption in the different sectors.
Wow, very short and sweet indeed. Now, my second question for especially both of you, I guess, mainly. You've dedicated a lot of your time in the traditional centralized finance space. And then one day you decided to move into the virtual economy. So I guess in less than 1 minute, perhaps, can you share with us your story of how you made that leap of faith? What made you believe in virtual economy? I guess maybe Stephanie, you can start.
Sure, yeah, I've been in the traditional asset management industry for almost 20 years. And what I've seen is a few things, right? Technology is actually moving forward very, very quickly. And traditional finance is actually one big elephant in the room that hasn't been really disrupted by technology. So we have, for example, Uber disrupting the transportation industry and Deliveroo, for example, changing the way that we eat. However, in finance, there's very little kind of innovation. So, what we've done at StashAway is actually to disrupt the traditional asset management industry by introducing digital wealth management, which basically means that consumers or users get better product in terms of global asset allocation portfolios at a much lower cost, as low as 0.2 to 0.8% of annual management fee, and with very, very low barrier to entry. For example, anyone with $10,000 can open an account, and there's no minimum balance, and people can withdraw anytime. There's no lockup. So that actually addresses a lot of the traditional barriers of investment and also financial inclusion. So that is one big reason why I decided to take the leap of faith to move into the virtual, digital wealth management industry.
And just very quickly, what are the main enabling factors that allow you to do so and making this more accessible?
Yeah, I guess technology is a big one because traditionally, if you think about mutual funds, there is a big team or an active manager running the fund. And this actually requires a lot of human capital. And these people are very, very well paid. So that's why that's why you're getting charged a lot from buying mutual funds. However, using technology, you can actually scale both the management of the funds as well as distribution of the funds. So that actually enables us to lower the cost dramatically, and we pass on that lower cost to all consumers.
I see. And Fred, in your case, it's insurance. Do you see similar kinds of advantages? And actually, let's start off with how you made that leap of faith.
Well, sure. I would say insurance even more behind. We're like 5 or 10 years even behind online bankings. If you look at all financial services, right, everything has been digitalized, like online bankings, lending, wallet. But insurance is always a last man standing that hasn't really changed. It's now almost, now it's like 2020, right? We're still selling insurance one-to-one and face-to-face. It's actually a very outdated experience. So for us, for Bowtie, we actually built a new insurance company on modern technologies. Everything is online, it's 100% online on the smartphones. From application to claim to underwriting, you can actually just access using your smartphone and from the internet. In Hong Kong, even though a lot of people think it's such a well-established insurance sector, but the fact is that we still have 120,000 agents. It's only a few % digital adoptions. So there's a lot of things that can be disrupted with modern technologies.
I see. Now, John, you know both companies quite well, I understand.
I'm the advisor to both.
I see, I see. I mean, apart from what they've both said in terms of advantages moving to starting in the virtual economy, do you have anything to add? Like maybe from the consumer's perspective, you know, apart from obviously the lower costs, what other advantages are there?
Well, to me, traditional to the digital is basically a continuum, is the part of that development process. So I think at some stage, especially now, we are sort of in a hybrid form, more traditional, less in terms of digital. But I think that will keep continuing, and that will be to the benefit of the consumers, because as the digital platforms, as we develop, it would lower the cost, lower the entry barrier. It would be what people say, you know, democratize the entire process and making it even more accessible to everyone concerned.
I see, I see. Now, obviously we were talking about the leap of faith, and I guess pretty much, well, especially you both, you actually left the corporate world to start your own fintech company, and I'm sure it wasn't easy. I don't know, see, you're smiling, so I'm sure there were some interesting stories there. Could you name any of the mistakes you made that eventually led you to success? Because, you know, some story as a, not so much a warning, but an advice to people who want to make a similar leap of faith.
Okay, so yeah, I guess, I mean, there's many lessons I've learned, but I guess one of the very key important thing to think about as you take the leap of faith, as you said, from a very safe corporate job into starting your own company, or to, I mean, work for a startup, is by using a framework that's pioneered by Jeff Bezos. It's basically regret minimization framework. So think about, I mean, if you haven't tried, would you actually regret? And what Jeff Bezos thought was, he was seeing internet like expanding at a very fast pace. And he thought to himself, if he didn't take the chance of taking that leap of faith, he would most likely regret if he didn't do it. Same thing for me. When I actually left my role at Goldman, I was thinking the same thing. If I didn't actually try, and looking backwards, everything moved ahead as I was envisioning, would I actually regret? And I thought to myself, yes, I would probably regret more if I hadn't tried. But I mean, back to, I guess, the lessons learned. Number one is find partners that you can really trust, because it's always, I mean, the issues at hand always change. The people that you work with don't tend to change. The team is the most important thing. If you put together a really good team, the team can solve actually any problem. So having the right mix of people, that is the most important thing.
Very good, very good. How about you, Fred?
I think it's the same. I actually read the same book as well. I would say, for my background, I'm an actuary, so I've been in the industry for quite a bit. And I wouldn't call it a mistake. I would say we make a lot of pivot in the early days. Okay. Me and my partner, me and my team, in the early stage, we actually started a boutique advisory firms. And then we start to build software, we start to build products, and later on we got a chance to build the first Hong Kong virtual insurance company. There's a lot of learning, allow us to understand the pain points, allow us to push through the challenges. But if you ask me, two very important aspects is one of them is have a very clear vision. A lot of startup, it takes time to find out what you want and what you want to be. There are so many opportunities, so many pain points. You have to be very clear to the team what is the true north, like where you want to go. Sometimes we're very busy with activities, and you forget about the clear vision and what are the key objectives that we want to achieve. And sometimes we're being too reactive to too many new things. Having that focus is very important. The second thing, just to echo what you just said, is having the right team. A lot of startup, they started because of an idea. I would say we started because of the team. We are a serial entrepreneur. A lot of, in the early days, some of the interns in the first startups are still with us, and now are the core engineering team, the core team. I would say we actually learned a lot throughout this journey, and we wouldn't be able to start Bowtie if we didn't have the previous experience. So I would say having that clear vision, and that will attract the right talent to work for you.
Now, John, I guess this is a fitting question for you, since you were the former finance secretary of Hong Kong. What can traditional financial institutions learn from fintech startups such as these two?
That the world is infinite, There's nothing that is impossible. And I think anything you can imagine, you can actually do with the right idea and the right talents. And I think these people are doing that.
Were there any big surprises in the recent years? What were the most memorable achievements, perhaps, in the virtual economy market, apart from these two, of course? Or, I mean, you can name some examples from
I think there are quite a lot. I mean, and they are quietly disrupting the existing traditional market. And I think a lot of the traditional markets, they realize this particular point, but they are concerned that if they were to do both a digital platform and in a traditional way, they may be cannibalizing each other. And that creates a problem for them. So they really have a tough decision to make, what kind of mix they would do as they progress forward without hurting their own top line. And I think that's an important consideration.
So I guess this is more of a concern for you both when it comes to competing with existing big names, right? But how have, from your perspective, how have people's view towards your kind of virtual economy market over the years? Are you seeing an obvious increase in adoption rate, or earlier you mentioned that there were people who doubted. Gave you doubts.
Sure.
How have this kind of perspective changed from what you see? Stephanie?
Sure. Yeah, I guess, for us, we're still very, very early days in Hong Kong. So StashAway was actually founded in Singapore about 6 years ago, and our headquarters is still in Singapore. When we started in Singapore, it was basically people didn't have any concept about digital wealth management. It's actually similar to where we are in Hong Kong right now. But throughout the 5 years that we were in Singapore, we've actually grew to become a household name. So if you go in Singapore and talk to people about StashAway, people actually know about StashAway as a digital wealth manager. People know very well about the concept of doing your wealth management using a mobile app and online. So we're starting that in Hong Kong, like what we did 5-6 years ago. And I think, given the similarities and demographics and also needs, we're very, very optimistic that we'll be able to actually grow this business in Hong Kong. We have a few other new players coming in as well, so which is great. We create a bit more awareness. And to be frank, our biggest competitor is actually not each other. It's basically the money sitting in the bank. Because currently, given the, even though interest rates have been rising, it's still fairly low. So if you leave your money in the bank, every year you earn 1 to 2%, whereas if you invest the money wisely, using a good portfolio that helps you diversify risk, you can make maybe easily 5-6% more without taking on a lot more risk. So that actually compounds over time. So if you think about an investment time horizon for retirement, for example, for a lot of people, that's 30-40 years. And a few percentage point difference in each year actually compounds over time. And through our digital wealth management platform, we hope to help people to actually do that kind of more, sustainable investment over a long period easier. And I know in Hong Kong, the perception is that people like to maybe punt in stocks or maybe gamble a little bit, but that's not the sustainable way to do investment. And hopefully, we'll be able to change that perception in Hong Kong over time.
Very good. And Fred, what about you in the insurance market? You seeing, you guys obviously work very hard on your marketing end in Hong Kong as well. And actually I got to interview one of your colleagues last year as well. So are you also seeing an obvious adoption rate for your kind of business?
Yes. I would say before we have virtual insurance, the digital adoption is only below 2%.
Oh wow!
So right now, what we're seeing is around 5% or 8%. We have seen that more people are considering online. Who are this segment, right? Usually people who are more tech savvy or educated.
Younger, maybe.
The younger. Actually, 1/3 of our customers are below 30.
Oh, wow.
So relatively young for health insurance. And these are the people who don't want to buy from the agents. They don't like pushy sales. They want to spend the time to research and read everything online. It's almost like when you go travel and buy shopping, right? You want to read all the review. You want to understand it before you buy it. So the conventional wisdom is insurance is sold but not bought. but we're able to challenge that, hey, there exists a segment that actually want to voluntarily do research online and they buy online.
Great, great. Now, financial inclusion is on every financial institution's agenda, right? Now, where do you see the advantages for small and more nimble fintechs over their bigger competitors and their traditional banks? I guess, John, I would like to get your perspective on that.
Financial inclusion is a very important objective in any of this innovation because we want to make it more available and accessible for everyone concerned, every sector, every economic strata of our society. And that has been a problem in the past with traditional finance, with a lot of people being left out. But now, with on a digital platform, you can make it more direct and more accessible and more affordable.
Yes,
and I think that's going to become a very big change, a big enabler for more people to be included in that whole process.
I see. Do you, any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess that is the value that we have by. But the reason why we set up StashAway is because our founders were actually looking for good ways to invest the money over the long term, and they've looked at like mutual funds, which a lot of people are looking to. They've looked at, for example, private banks, which have very very high barrier but better products, but there's nothing in between, right? It's a empty space, and what StashAway has built out is actually a institutional grade asset management platform. So what we do is actually global asset allocation using ETFs. These are products that are traditionally only available to private bank clients. So for example, if you have US $2 million, you can go open an account and get that service. But if you go to today, let's say you go to a bank or you go to a fund house, there's very little advice on how do you actually allocate your asset among, for example, US equities, bonds, like Hong Kong equities, etc. They'll sell you funds, so you can buy, like, for example, specific funds, but it's very hard to get that asset allocation advice. So, what StashAway is set out to build is actually a systematic way to help people to actually allocate your wealth among all these different asset classes, which traditionally has only been available to very high net worth clients.
I see. And Fred, earlier you talked about trust. So I'm very keen to know, obviously for a virtual economy kind of business, you're kind of removing the how should I put it? The customers are less likely to see human staff, and
Yes.
you're meant to go straight to the website or the app. But so how do you build up that trust on that end?
It's a very good question because we are selling insurance. So insurance, especially for health insurance, it's a promise that we made. If something happened to you, we pay you claims. It may not happen in the next 2 years. It may happen in many years later. So people care about the trust because they want to make sure that if they need the money for medical reimbursement, we're able to afford it. We're able to pay them. So, but the way that we build trust is very different to the old world. In the old world, a lot of people may look across the harbor and see if they have a big billboard to see that, okay, this is a very wealthy company. But now it's different, right? People look online and see, okay, do they have good reviews? So what is the vision of this company? Do they buy, not just buy the product, do they buy the team? Do they believe in what you believe? For example, we actually focus on peer protections. A lot of products that we sell in Hong Kong have some saving elements. And we really focus on just very simple, very affordable insurance products. Insurance Authority launched a study on protection gaps. They are saying that every adult right now still need 2 million term life insurance. But at Bowtie, it's only $70 for 35 years old. So it's actually very, very affordable. And so I would say, back to your question about building trust, it's about having the vision, having the very transparent review online, having people who are able to endorse us. I think John Zhen played a very important role in the early days. Some people say they trust Bowtie because they trust John. They trust Sun Life, who is our investors, also Mitsui. And also partner with credible partners who are able to also uplift the brand trust. We have do a lots of B2B partnership. because that actually help us. We don't hide behind them. It's always a co-branded partnership. It's always a co-branded activities. So
Good
that
for
help
brand
us.
awareness.
Exactly. So these are the things that it's not that you spend money can earn trust. These are the things that you do can help you to become a more trustworthy company.
So actually, both Fred and Stephanie raised the point that the difficulty faced by innovative technology startups. There are two of them. One, what is virtual insurance? What is digital wealth management? People not aware of that, so we need to educate people as to what they are. And the second thing is, what is Bowtie? What is StashAway? And that brand needs to be known. People need to have trust in it, and I think that is an important factor. Once you overcome these two issues, I think the selling is more clear.
Do you give any particular tips on that to both of them?
Well, to earn trust, I think with Fred and Stephanie, what we have done is to try to build that with people known to them, like myself.
Okay.
And so with that, we sort of try to gain the trust of the people who may get engaged in that. And then I think that is important. And they also need to get around and talk more about virtual insurance, digital wealth management, and so forth, because these are new concepts, and most people don't know what they are, and if they don't know what it is, they can't trust it. And so we need to do quite a bit of education.
Yes, maybe through conferences such as this one, and,
Hopefully.
and also websites and all, even traditional media, I guess.
Absolutely.
Now, how about in the areas of virtual economy? Where do you see the opportunities for your business? What are you've touched upon some of those earlier, but I'd like to know some more specific problems that you are trying to solve for your customers and potentially even the broader industry.
Yeah, I guess from a business side, we want to be a major player in Hong Kong in the wealth management industry. We'd like to become a household name that people associate us with. And that is not easy, because in Hong Kong, actually, there's a lot of choices, right, in terms of financial products. And the way we try to differentiate ourselves is by really think about what do investors need in Hong Kong. So I think investment to a lot of people is actually quite confusing, very difficult, very time consuming. We've actually done a video advertisement with John, trying to highlight some of the common issues that people run into. For example, there was a banker in the who was staying late till like maybe 3 a.m. looking at U.S. stocks, where he should be actually getting some sleep. There's a couple who should be enjoying the wedding, but they were both checking stock prices.
Oh no! Not a good start.
Yeah, exactly, not a great start to a happy life. But using a investment platform like ours, we can actually automate the investment for a lot of our customers, so that they can actually get back their time. They can get back their life. They can spend the time with the families. They can spend the time learning other things, or exercising, spending time for work, for example. And I think one of the very, very important concepts that people are missing, or when you think about investments, is how much risk you're taking. So to that end, we've created something called the StashAway Risk Index, which basically tells people if you choose a particular portfolio, what kind of drawdown risk are you exposed to. And that is the only thing that our investors need to choose when they set up a portfolio with us, because our systematic strategy actually takes care of the risk. So it makes it very, very easy. You just need to answer one very, very important question, and that is the question that everyone should answer before they invest, is how much risk am I prepared to take? And the reason for that is because even though long-term investing would generate positive returns, so for example, if you invest in the S&P index in the last 30 years, every year, the annualized return has been around 12%. The problem is that within that 30-year time frame, there was corrections, and these corrections are inevitable. In fact, we're going through one right now. S&P fell 20% from its peak, so we're in technically a bear market territory. And for a lot of investors, if they don't know the risk, if they don't know, like for example, the stock that I hold, like what kind of risk it actually entails, it's very easily to be shaken out of the market. And that is why it's so difficult to do long-term investment. And so our platform is actually, our systematic strategy is set up in such a way such that you can very easily manage your risk. And I think that actually helps our investors to actually stay invested in the long time.
Okay, and in return, obviously, that also help make a new growth opportunity.
Yes,
for
exactly,
your business.
and helps us actually to differentiate ourselves versus a traditional financial product.
I see. And Fred, in your case, I guess maybe the insurance space was getting a little stagnant a little while back, because you said it's still very, very early days for you guys in terms of entering the virtual economy. So I guess this is also creating a new growth space for your business in terms of breaking into this virtual space.
Yes. Well, there are lots of pain points, and there are lots of things that we can, with technology, we can bring it to the market. We talk about convenience, we talk about affordabilities. Another one I want to bring up is transparency. Right now, if you want to buy insurance, you have to access through agents. And there's so much that you don't know. For example, when you say investment is confusing, I would say insurance is even more confusing.
Oh, really?
And even more boring. And it's actually very technical. It has saving components, it has guarantee, it has some of the different risk factors. So education is very important. We're trying to be very transparent. It's one way to earn trust as well.
Yes.
People do want to know what if there's any hidden evils details. We're trying to put all the details online, so you can assess, you can actually read all the informations. Because right now, for people who buy it from a traditional player, a lot of time they don't know what they buy, because it's a product that's sold to them. They may not read all the details, and they don't know how much they charge, how the claim works, and everything. So we're trying to invest a lot in educations. We invest a lot in the recommendation engines. Education meaning not just video. We have a lot of content. We have a lot of articles. Right now we have about 2 million organic traffic every month, just on article. We publish 40 articles per month, 30 to 40 articles on insurance, on health content. These are the people who really want to read it before they actually buy it. So it's a very different behaviors, but I would say education is a long-term investment. People, in order for them to trust your brand, they need to trust your content, they need to trust your recommendations. So all of these are very important. I think with much higher trust and transparency, that will be able to attract the new generation of the customers.
So I guess we can wrap up with this last question. Do you see centralized finance and virtual economy complementing each other? Because even though we're saying one is more convenient and more accessible than the other, are you necessarily saying that one should overtake the other, or are they going to coexist at least for the near future? Maybe John, we can start with you.
I think they do. I think they do complement, and as I said before, it's a continuum. So it's not a either-or situation. And I think we'll be going through this hybrid stage for a long time before we go fully digital, because people don't develop themselves so quickly. So I think it's a gradual process, and it will take time. And I think we're still at the beginning of it.
Do you think it's progressed faster than you expected, or?
I think with COVID, we have seen an accelerating trend, but it's not really overnight kind of a thing.
What about Stephanie?
Yeah, I definitely think that, this is a big trend, and we're here to embrace it. But having 24/7 access to your mobile phone doesn't mean that you don't need to speak to somebody.
Okay.
So actually, customer service is still very, very important for us. And we have our customer service team pick up the phone, answering questions through WhatsApp, email, etc. And we also have wealth advisors who serve our high net worth clients. So it's that human touch is also very important. And to Fred's point about building trust, I think you like to put a face still, even though it's a virtual brand. So I think that is still very, very important.
Fred?
Well, very similar message. I think the decentralized and all these no human, that would be very far away for insurance. I would say it's a hybrid model. I agree with John that technology plus the human touch is going to be the way, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, especially for health insurance. Some of the people, when they file claims, it might be the first time going to the hospital. They may not familiar with the process. Technology can make it simpler, But when you need help, that human touch is very important. You need to give them a chance, the options to able to call the claim specialist, to give them that peace of mind. So we, even though we're investing a lot in technology, we're also making the same level of investment into the customer service. That's why when we have this new marketing tagline, we say, 有人幫冇人sell. This is actually a very important concept because a lot of people think virtual have no human touch. So we want to correct that misconception by saying that we have technology to help you, but if you have any questions, you can still call us. In fact, we have already handled more than 100,000 inquiry one-to-one on either the phone, on live chat, or emails. So you have a lot of digital channel or hotline to reach out to us if you need help. We're always here.
Wow, that's a very good spot for us to wrap up, I guess. Human touch in a virtual economy. So thank you so much, John, Fred, and Stephanie. And thanks again to everyone for tuning in to the Yahoo Finance All Market Summit Extra Asia. And we will see you next time.